So it's funny how the guy in New Zealand is pretty much getting everything that he wants. The majority of the blame can be laid on the media right now because they've read the manifesto in full detail, obviously, so they know that what they are doing is accelerating things. It is making it worse. They know exactly what they're doing, so they're almost just as culpable as this guy because they want things to accelerate as well. These leftists, they're getting sick of waiting. They're getting sick and tired of the slow crawl through the institutions. They want power now. They can't wait until we're demographically replaced anymore. They're getting antsy. They were mad that Donald Trump was able to be elected. They didn't think that was even possible. But, sooner or later, somebody like him, or even more of a cuck than him, is not even going to have a chance to winning an election in our Western countries. And this is something that is going to trigger more events like we saw in New Zealand. Now, that's not condoning what the guy did. That's not saying what he did was okay. Of course, it was horrible. We all understand this. It was terrible. You should not kill innocent people. But the longer that the media in America and Canada and Western countries, the longer that the governments in these countries demonize anybody who speaks out against immigration, the longer that social media demonizes, censors people who talk about immigration, the more types of these events are going to happen. If we are allowed to speak to each other, if people weren't censored and forced to go on Gab and these other social media platforms where they're little echo chambers, then we would see less violence in the future. And the same with on Twitter, right? That is just a huge echo chamber for the left at this point. And they are getting radicalized on there to be more and more violent. And we're seeing a disproportionate amount of coverage as we see, with this attack compared to other attacks. You have the Queen of England lowering the flag for what's going on in New Zealand. But when that concert in Ariana Grande concert was attacked, she didn't lower the flag then. You're seeing the double standards, but they just don't care. The media doesn't care. The left doesn't care. They want the conflict too. They want more people to go out and kill people. They know that censoring people is going to radicalize them, is going to make them more angry and have the potential to go out and do something. They know all this. And, they want this to go. And they're also trying to censor his manifesto now too. And I think in New Zealand, they want to put people away for like 10 years or so if you're sharing it. Like, it's crazy. And there was a lot of crazy stuff in there to an extent, but there was a lot of truth. And there was a lot of stuff that would probably red pill and black pill some people. Now, once again, that's not me saying that anything that him going and killing people was good or justified, because it's not. It's never justified to kill innocent people, whether or not you think it is. It was just a hindrance to the progress that we have made so far. And we have made progress. That's the problem. It's a lot of these people who are young and don't see some of the progress that we have been able to make, don't see some of the hope that is still there to change things. And when you lose hope, you're going to get things like this. You're going to get events like this that could be preventable. But if Twitter, if all these companies allowed people, and these types of people that had issues with immigration weren't demonized and could speak to people, then we could avoid a lot of these types of situations as well. We even have ISIS members able to go and get help in Canada. We'll welcome them in with open arms and try to rehabilitate them. But you don't have the same thing with other people. And also, white people wanting to remain in charge of their country doesn't need to be rehabilitated either. That's not something that needs to be fixed. That needs to be listened to. And it's never going to go away. The violence is never going to go away as long as that is not listened to. And if you think that you can convince white people and European people to just lose that, you're sorely mistaken. It's always going to be there. People are always going to want to have control of the countries sorry, that they live in. And that's never going to change. So constantly telling people like us that we're racist, that we're xenophobic, that we're this and that, for just having legitimate fears and concern, it's just going to breed more of a problem. And it's going to make crazy people be the first ones to snap and do something. And once again, like I said, they know this, because that will give them more excuse to censor us, to try to take away our rights, to try to take away freedom of speech, gun rights, and whatnot, because they want this gone anyways, and they think they have the power to do it. And if we revolt, they could push us down, and they could win anyways. So it's, and I think a lot of these people that are pushing for acceleration don't understand the consequences of war, don't really understand what you are asking for. War is not pretty. You're gonna have to deal with your family potentially being murdered, butchered, raped. Are you really ready to deal with this type of stuff? You're really ready to deal with war? Are you really ready to have to kill people that have done nothing to you? Most people can't kill their own food to eat it. Most people nowadays can't even do it. They can't even bring themselves to do that. So think again if you think that you're going to be able to do that to people that are human beings. We can't otherize people too much. Yes, I don't want to be replaced by these cultures, but they're still human beings. They're not animals. They still have feelings. They still have wants. They still love and hate. And, they scream out in pain when they're hurt. You see them as humans. You have empathy for them. It's not as easy hurting people as you think it is, unless you are a psychopath, which that guy was a psychopath. Killing 50 people like that, laughing about it, giggling about it the way he did, you have to be a psychopath in order to do that. Somebody that has empathy is not going to be able to easily do that. Or you really have to delude yourself to believe that who you're killing is not a human being. But they are. They are human beings. And you cannot forget that, right? You really cannot forget that. And your actions, your acceleration will just make it harder for change. There are people trying to change things. There is progress being made. Don't get completely blackpilled. I understand. You're looking at Trump with the things that he says. You're looking at other places in the world with what they're saying. But there is still hope if you look for it. There is still signs of progress if you look for it. Don't get yourself into this state where there is no other solutions, where you think there is no other solutions, because there usually is. You're just not looking hard enough. And once again, you really got to understand what you're proposing and the consequences of your actions and what you're going to have to deal with and what you're going to have to do. People think war is glorious, all this war, but do you really want to be on the front of the lines? Because in war, there's often a lot of sacrifices. A lot of generals know that, hey, I'm going to send this force to go up front, and practically 95% of them are all going to die. But at least it's going to get my soldiers, to go and get to the new location, etc. But, war is bloody, and if we don't need to do it, why push for it? It's not at that point. It's not at that point yet. We still have the majority in a lot of our countries. Go out there, try to convince people, talk to them, do something instead of this. Do something instead of just memeing on the internet. Go out, do something, because just this black-pilled philosophy thinking, we're all fucked, this guy was a hero, is not going to help us. And I'm not going to advocate for you being censored or anything like that. I'm not say you're necessarily a bad person or whatever, but you got to smarten the fuck up. You really got to smarten the fuck up and understand that you're just making it harder for the people that are trying to change minds. And history is not always going to repeat itself. Today, the current present is an example of history not repeating itself. You may think it is, but it's not. We have many things today that we didn't have before. We think differently than we did before. We've made progress, lots of progress, and I see lots of progress being made even with immigration, with people's attitudes towards immigration. It is changing, and it's going to change fast. But you going and saying we're all fucked anyways, we may as well just start killing people, is just going to make it harder. So please think before you act. Think before you speak. You know, put more positive things out into the world if you can, as opposed to just negativity. Because if you just put negativity out there, that's all you're ever going to receive in return. And, you know, I'm going on more of a little rant here, but, you know, what that guy did was horrible. I think we all know that. I shouldn't need to repeat this shit constantly. But there is a few people, there are some people who are completely black-pilled, who think that there is no alternative. But there is. You're just being ignorant right now. But that's all I pretty much had to say. If you like my content, subscribe and have a good day. See ya.